When it comes to blood feeding, people often think of creatures from mythology. But in the natural world today, this behavior exists in reality, in diverse forms, and with an efficiency that is chilling. From parasites clinging to the scalp, hiding inside beds, to organisms capable of entering the human body directly, nature has evolved many different ways to turn blood into a source of survival. And some of them are far more terrifying than we imagine. Today, let's join Top Wonder to explore a list of the 10 scariest blood-feeding creatures. Some feed on the blood of other animals, while others feed on human blood. They begin and end their feeding in silence, often without us even realizing it. In this list, mosquitoes, the blood-feeding creatures responsible for the most human deaths worldwide, will be excluded, simply because everyone is already aware of their existence. Now, let's begin. 10. Lice. Lice are extremely small blood-feeding parasites belonging to the group of wingless insects, living directly on the human body, most commonly on the scalp. They exist worldwide, especially in crowded environments and areas with limited hygiene. In appearance, lice measure only a few millimeters in length, with flattened bodies that are light gray or pale brown. They possess strong gripping claws that allow them to cling tightly to hair strands, making them difficult to remove by ordinary methods. Lice survive by piercing the skin and feeding on blood multiple times a day, while secreting substances that cause intense itching. They cannot jump or fly, but they spread rapidly through close contact or by sharing personal items. The life cycle of lice takes place entirely on the host body, with eggs firmly attached to the base of hair shafts, hatching quickly and causing repeated reinfestation. Although they are not fatal, lice are the most familiar symbol of parasitism, reminding us that biological threats are not always large or rare, but sometimes hidden directly on the human body itself. 9. Bed bugs. Bed bugs are blood-feeding parasitic insects belonging to the true bug group that live primarily in human living spaces, especially beds, mattresses, wooden crevices, and furniture. They appear in homes, hotels, dormitories, and public transportation, regardless of wealth or cleanliness. Their appearance is distinctive, with flattened, oval-shaped bodies, reddish-brown in color, roughly the size of an apple seed. Before feeding, they are thin and difficult to detect, but after feeding, their bodies swell noticeably, revealing their presence. Bed bugs are mainly active at night, when humans are asleep. They locate hosts using body heat and carbon dioxide, pierce the skin quickly, feed for several minutes, and then retreat. Their bites often cause itching and red welts, directly affecting sleep and psychological well-being. Bedbugs reproduce rapidly, with eggs hidden deep in narrow crevices and capable of surviving long periods without feeding. Although they do not transmit dangerous diseases, bedbugs have become a symbol of urban anxiety, where the threat does not come from wild nature, but from the very place that seems safest, human sleep. 8. Horseflies. Horseflies are large blood-feeding insects belonging to the family Tabanidae, widely distributed across rural areas, grasslands, forests, and livestock regions worldwide. Unlike many blood feeders that remain hidden, horseflies are active openly during the daytime and frequently come into contact with humans. Their appearance is easy to recognize, with large bodies, broad wings, metallic-looking compound eyes, and cutting mouthparts rather than needle-like proboscises. Their size, far larger than common flies, makes them hard to ignore as they fly low around the body. Horsefly behavior is characterized by direct attack. Females rush toward the host, use their blade-like mouthparts to slice the skin, and then feed on the flowing blood, causing immediate sharp pain. They are persistent, difficult to drive away, and may return repeatedly to the same area. Horseflies reproduce near water sources, where larvae develop in moist mud. Although they rarely cause death, horseflies symbolize outdoor fear, where pain arrives instantly, without contact, without sleep, simply by stepping into their territory. 7. Kissing bugs. Triatomine bugs. Kissing bugs are blood-feeding parasitic insects belonging to the true bug group, found mainly in Central and South America, but also appearing sporadically in the southern United States. They often live in thatched houses, wall cracks, livestock shelters, or areas close to human habitation. Their appearance is relatively distinctive, with long, flattened bodies, dark brown or black coloration, and red-orange markings along the edges. Their long piercing mouthparts fold beneath the head, designed for fast and precise skin penetration. These insects are nocturnal, approaching hosts while humans are asleep. They commonly bite around the mouth, eyes, or exposed skin, feeding briefly before retreating silently. What makes kissing bugs especially dangerous is not the bite itself, but the pathogen-laden feces left near the wound. Kissing bugs are vectors of Chagas disease, a dangerous parasitic illness that can cause long-term damage to the heart and digestive system. Despite their small size, kissing bugs symbolize an invisible threat, where a painless bite can lead to severe consequences that remain silent and difficult to detect for years. 6. Leeches. Leeches are blood-feeding invertebrates belonging to the annelid worms, living mainly in ponds, rivers, streams, wetlands, and moist freshwater environments worldwide. Some species also exist in tropical rainforests, where humidity remains high year-round. Their appearance is often disturbing, with flattened, soft, slimy bodies, dark brown or black in color, and to suction cups at the front and rear. The front sucker contains a mouth equipped with small teeth or cutting structures, allowing them to anchor firmly and penetrate skin. Leech behavior is directly parasitic. They detect hosts through heat, vibrations, and chemical cues in the water, then attach quickly, cut the skin, and feed continuously on blood. Their saliva contains anticoagulants, causing wounds to bleed for an extended period even after the leech detaches. Leeches reproduce in moist environments, with eggs protected in cocoons and developing into independent individuals. Although they rarely cause death, leeches symbolize the fear of physical contact, where the human body becomes a direct source of nourishment, held and drained slowly in a way that cannot be ignored. Up to this point, the threats have remained on the surface of the body. But from here onward, everything begins to cross familiar boundaries. It is no longer just about feeding on blood, but about intrusion, adaptation, and exploiting the bodies of other organisms in ways that force science to be cautious and human instinct to stay alert. 5. Blood-feeding moths. Blood-feeding moths are an extremely rare group of insects belonging to several species within the genus Calyptra, scattered across Asia and Eastern Europe. Contrary to the common image of moths feeding only on nectar or fruit, these species have evolved in a completely different direction. In appearance, they do not differ much from ordinary moths, with broad wings, brownish-gray coloration, and nocturnal activity. The key difference lies in their rigid, pointed proboscis, capable of piercing the skin of mammals. The behavior of blood-feeding moths is shocking because it runs counter to the familiar role of pollinating insects. They land on the skin, pierce the epidermis with their proboscis, and then feed on the flowing blood. The puncture is usually small but can cause pain, inflammation, and mild infection. The evolutionary mechanism behind this behavior is still under study and is believed to have originated from feeding on fermented fruit juices before gradually shifting to a more protein-rich food source. Although rarely encountered, blood-feeding moths are a symbol of evolutionary deviation, where a familiar creature suddenly breaks away from the ecological role humans once believed to be fixed. 4. Lampreys. Lampreys are jawless parasitic fish, belonging to one of the most ancient groups of vertebrates still in existence. They are found in rivers, lakes, and coastal waters across North America, Europe, and parts of Asia. They appeared hundreds of millions of years ago and have undergone very little structural change since. Their appearance is deeply unsettling, with elongated, eel-like bodies, smooth scaleless skin, and a circular suction cup mouth lined with rings of sharp teeth. At the center of the mouth is a rigid, drill-like tongue used to grind through the skin of prey. Lamprey parasitism is an active form of attack. They latch onto other fish, anchor themselves with suction, bore into the skin, and feed on blood and bodily fluids for extended periods. Many victims become weakened or die due to blood loss and infection. Lampreys have a distinctive life cycle, with larvae living buried in sediment for several years before metamorphosing into parasitic adults. With their primitive form and direct blood-feeding method, lampreys have become a symbol of evolutionary fear, where an ancient organism still exists as a reminder that parasitism does not need sophistication, only efficiency. 3. Vampire bats. Vampire bats are the only mammals on Earth that survive exclusively by feeding on blood. They are found primarily in Central and South America, ranging from tropical rainforests to rural areas with livestock. They live in small colonies within caves, hollow trees, or abandoned structures. Their appearance is relatively modest, with short wingspans, rounded snouts, and razor-sharp incisors. Strong legs and hooked thumbs allow them to move agilely on the ground, a rare trait among bats. The blood-feeding behavior of vampire bats is highly refined and precise. They land near a sleeping host, use their teeth to make a very small cut in the skin, and then lap up the flowing blood rather than sucking directly. Their saliva contains anticoagulants that keep blood flowing continuously while the victim remains largely unaware. Vampire bats raise their young by sharing blood within the colony, a rare social behavior among blood-feeding animals. Although they rarely attack humans, vampire bats are a biological symbol of ancient fear, where a mammal, evolutionarily close to humans, survives by feeding on the blood of other living beings. 2. Vampire finch. The vampire finch is a highly unusual endemic bird species found on the Galapagos Islands. Taxonomically, it remains a Darwin's finch, a group famous for illustrating adaptive evolution, yet this species has followed an extraordinary path. In appearance, the vampire finch looks entirely unthreatening. It is small, with simple brown-gray plumage and a pointed beak similar to that of seed-eating birds. This ordinariness makes its behavior even more striking. When food becomes scarce, the vampire finch turns to blood feeding. It pecks at the skin or feathers of larger seabirds, such as boobies, creating small wounds and then licking the flowing blood. This behavior is not random aggression, but a stable survival strategy repeated across generations. This phenomenon demonstrates remarkable flexibility in behavioral evolution, where a seed-eating bird adapts to a completely different nutritional source. The vampire finch has become a symbol of evolutionary shock, where a creature that appears harmless breaks the instinctive moral boundaries humans assign to the natural world. 1. Candiru fish. The candiru is an extremely small freshwater parasitic fish belonging to the catfish family, inhabiting the Amazon River basin in South America. Despite being only a few centimeters long, the candiru has long been considered one of the most fear-inducing organisms associated with the human body. Its appearance is simple, with a long, slender, nearly transparent body, no scales, a small head, and a narrow mouth. This thread-like shape allows it to penetrate extremely small openings, which is the source of its terrifying reputation. Candiru behavior is invasive parasitism, entirely different from other blood feeders on this list. It is attracted to water currents and chemical cues in urine, capable of entering fish gills to feed on blood. In rare but deeply disturbing cases, candiru are believed to be able to enter the human urethra, using backward-facing spines to anchor themselves and feed, causing extreme pain. The life cycle of the candiru is closely tied to parasitism, with specialized spine structures adapted for anchoring within confined spaces. Although human cases are extremely rare and still debated, the candiru remains a symbol of invasive fear, where the boundary between the human body and the natural world is violated in the most instinctive way possible. Nature does not distinguish between beauty and fear, only survival efficiency. The blood-feeding creatures on this list show that evolution can take paths far removed from human expectations. Which species triggered the strongest sense of unease for you? Or is there another blood-feeding animal we may have missed? Share your thoughts in the comments so we can discuss together. And don't forget to follow Top Wonder to continue exploring the strangest phenomena in the world of science.